two, one. Hey, everybody, this is Victor. I am here with Steven. We're going to be talking about him working with me. I'm his mentor. He's a student of mine. He's doing fantastic. How he went from struggling and wanting to do real estate for years to now having his first deal under contract. I think it's like a 60, 80K net deal. What do we say? It's
110.
up there.
110.
110. Okay. Okay. So I underestimated it. Yes, that's awesome. So we're gonna be talking about Steven's journey. He's been working with me for about 6 weeks here, so he's doing awesome, killing it out there. Looking at some more deals potentially. We'll talk about all of that. We'll get into it here. But how are you doing, Steven?
I'm all right, my man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Excited to talk to you and share where you've been. You've made a ton of progress in a very short amount of time, and just couldn't be happier with that. So let's get started into it. Like, what's your background and what got you interested in real estate?
Um, well, my background for the past 17 years was I was a police officer.
Hmm.
Been a police officer since 2004. I came straight out of high school and was a police officer by the time I was 20 years old.
Hmm.
And kind of did that my entire adult life. Prior to that, my stepfather owned a construction business. So every spring break, summer, weekends, whatever the case, I would be working with him,
Okay.
especially when I got my first speeding ticket at 16. I had to spend all spring break working for him to pay it off.
Mm.
Um, and, in between summer times in school and whatever. So I was in the construction, sheetrock. Of course, I was the little laborer, did all that as a kid. But around about 2014, I got into a really bad car accident during a pursuit.
Hmm.
Guy that had robbed a convenience store. And I had fractured my neck and my back in two places. And I had to take an extended leave of absence from policing until that was healed up. If anybody's ever had anything broken back there, it takes forever to heal. And then you're always worried about it re-injuring. So that was in 2014. And I went and obtained my real estate license.
Hmm.
Because some friends of mine were doing real estate. They were doing it really good. I had one friend that was doing $15K a month
Nice.
in real estate. I live in a beach community.
Hmm.
Tourist, a house that's 50,000 where you're at could be 200 where I'm at. So it's easy to make money like that. But I learned in about a year and a half that it wasn't all peaches and gravy. I struggled and struggled and struggled. I mean, I sold a few houses, but the whole realtor part of it, as far as let me drive you around and show you 20 houses that you can nitpick apart, and finally settle on one just to find out you can't get financing. I just wasted all that time.
Hmm. Yep.
That wasn't my cup of tea. So after that time frame, I had healed up enough to go back to policing. And it's not a secret, the policing job is not what it used to be.
Hmm.
And I don't really get into politics, but it's just not what it used to be. Anybody that has a TV can know that. So I never stopped with the real estate thing. I always kept on the back burner, kept my friends. And someone introduced me into the investment part of it, such as wholesale.
Hmm.
And I got online and I started watching a lot of Chris Haskins, Mike Maxwell, Eddie Raven, all these guys that are really into wholesaling, creative financing, stuff like that, which would have been great. But in 2018, we suffered a catastrophic hurricane in the city,
Hmm.
leveled 90% of buildings, at which time the real estate market said, and everybody started either moving away because their house was destroyed or spending the insurance money
Hmm.
that some people waiting 2 years later still get to fix their own house. At which time I said, hold on a minute. I watched a lot of people taking their insurance money and running. They wouldn't fix the house. They take it and leave.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've got this house that needs work that you could get for pennies on the dollar. You know, the mortgages were paid off. They just got a check for, say, $250,000, and they moved to Atlanta. Well, what are you going to do with your house?
Yep.
We don't want anything to do with it. How about I give you $20,000 for it?
Yep.
So I tried to do that. However, #common, some larger companies out of Orlando, Tampa, who have the capital to buy 100 houses at a time, came in and just snatched everything up. The same 3 or 4 companies, just everything. And me being the little guy was sitting out here, I couldn't even find crumbs to buy. So I said, well, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be something other than, and I tried the virtual wholesaling.
Okay.
But couldn't really get into that too well because of the policing job. I don't have time. And I think I stumbled across you one day on Facebook or whatever, and I shot you a message like a year ago. And after shooting you the message, I still tried to do it on my own, and I was having problems finding the deals. I was definitely having problems finding the money. So you and I finally spoke a year later. And, we hooked up, I think it was 6 weeks ago, coming up this week or something. And I took your advice and your mentorship, put it to play, and I guess a year and a half later, I've got one deal under contract and a few others I'm trying to talk into being put under contract.
You got some potential ones coming up. Well, I like your story because you tried the realtor thing, and a lot of the people I work with, like, they tried the realtor thing. It's so much hustling for not enough compensation. So I'll put it that way.
Yes.
And now you're in the flipping, and obviously you have a deal under contract, so it's going fantastic. I'd love to dive into this deal a little bit and kind of share. If you're comfortable sharing numbers, great. If not, that's totally fine. But I'd love to dive into this deal a little bit and kind of see what you got working here.
So I was contacted, and anybody's the boots on the ground. The more people you have in your corner, the more people you have spreading the word, the better. I was contacted on a Sunday afternoon by my stepfather, who was in the construction business. He said, I heard from this subcontractor of mine who has a guy that works for him that this lady might be interested in selling her house because she has a little bit of a mold problem. Well, it's Florida. Everybody has a mold problem. We went through a hurricane.
Fair.
Even more people have mold problems. And I was like, so what you want to sell it for? He's like, I would be lying if I even tried to give you a number. I don't know. Here's her phone number. Give her a call. And I sat right here on the couch and I gave her a call. And she was talking. I mean, I learned her life story, where her ex-husband lives in this country. The conversation even went into what Christmas ornaments she puts on her tree. Okay, I don't know how, but it went there. But that was the key, was just building a rapport. And so we made an appointment for the following morning to come view the property. And of course, while we're talking, I'm crunching numbers, and I've got the address, and I'm looking at it. And going in, I knew that the ARV on it would be about 360.
Okay.
I knew that my Mayo was, from what I was being told, just a rough guesstimate, my Mayo was about 184.5. So I went, spent 2 hours touring the property and continuing to talk to somebody. And come to find out, there was some mold issues from the previous owners. One of the air conditioning ducts, the faucet, had been leaking for years. It had come undone underneath the house, and all the air was blowing up into the walls, creating condensation in this 100% humidity we have. But when the owners found that, they said, well, out of sight, out of mind, and simply put another sheetrock over it, allowing the mold to credit. But she says, you know, I've had it inspected twice. I've had it 𝐂𝐸ation come out and give me an estimate. It is contained to the back 2 bedrooms. The rest of the house is absolutely fine, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I spent $40,000 renovating the kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
that bathrooms. So after speaking with her and kind of negotiating a little bit, we decided that she would need 185
Okay.
to be able to walk away. Well, my Mayo was 184.5.
Mm-hmm.
I told her, I said, if I need to go to the truck and get $500, I'm not losing the deal over $500. It's not going to happen. So anyway, after comparing the estimates that were already given to the estimates from my stepfather, who I've already had look at it, for the 𝐸𝐸ation and the remodel, the rehab was only about 60,000.
60,000, 60.
Right.
Okay.
60. So yeah, the numbers worked out almost perfect. I mean, you couldn't have scripted it to work out better. And she had no idea what my Mayo was, but it just happened to be spot on.
It worked out, yeah.
So yeah, I sat right there at her kitchen island and pulled out a contract, and we signed it right then and there.
Right.
She wanted a little bit of well, I had asked her, I said, you know, be honest, how many other people have you shown this place to? Then she had shown it to 2 other people, and everybody was, well, let me think about it, you know, this and that. And nobody's ever put down an EMD. Nobody's ever called me back. And I pulled out a check right then and there. And I said, how much would you like as an EMD? What would make you come? She said $1,000. Got her a check for $1,000. Sign the contract. I have it in mind now. So that's how that came to.
That's great. So you bought it. So it's under contract 185, put in 60, sell for 360. You know, great. There's a huge spread there. That's awesome. Cool. Okay. Can't beat that. Can't beat that. What were some like let's say like learning lessons? Because I know before you're trying to do it on your own and couldn't quite get there. And like now you're obviously having a deal under contract. We're kind of waiting for a couple things to happen, but it's still coming around. So what are some like the learning lessons as we've been working together?
Mainly it was, and it's the same I've heard 100 times. It was analysis paralysis. Mm-hmm. Okay, you overthink it. 6 weeks ago, if she would have sat there and said, well, I need $1,000 EMD, I would have had to walk away because I was like, well, I don't have $1,000 to give you. But even speaking with you, and you've taught us that money is not the problem. And I'll go further into this in just a second. Mm-hmm. Money is not the problem. Do it, get it under contract, do what you need to do. The rest of it will figure yourself out. Okay. So I just buckled down and started making the calls. And the thing is, I've learned, don't waste your time. Don't sit here, find a deal, spend 2 or 3 hours thinking about it, spend another 45 minutes running the numbers and making sure it's all right, and then calling people and making sure that it's going by then. Mm-hmm. It's going. Just do it. Just jump in and do it. And I say that to say this. Less than 2 hours after I contacted you and said, hey, I've got this under contract, I was getting emails and phone calls from people with money saying, hey, I'd like to, and you know what I'm speaking of, but you're always worried about the money. Am I going to be able to get it funded? Am I going to be able to do this? I didn't make it back home yet, and my phone is dinging with emails saying, hey, we got some money partners wanting to talk to you. Mm-hmm. And now that I know that, I've had to pull the reins back a little bit. I'm like, well, you know, I've got this one, I've got this one. Let's just go ahead and go, you know. Yeah. But you don't want to get bogged down, obviously. But yeah, that's one of the biggest learning experiences. I'm different than a lot of people because I have been in the business for so long, and I've done the selling, and I've done this, and I've been in the construction. It was the I felt because of my lack of resources,
Mm.
I couldn't pull the trigger in fear that something wouldn't work out. When in all actuality, if you just shut up and pull the trigger,
Mm-hmm.
it's not always going to work out. I get that. But the fear that you had of, well, I'm not going to be able to do this or this, especially working with you, you have the contacts and this and that. I wasn't ready yet to speak with anybody about lending. And you were already like, hey, I got this person. Hey, give this person a call. I hadn't even made it home yet. We're driving down the road. So that really, really, really helps.
Yeah.
It helps your confidence
Mm-hmm.
tremendously.
No, I appreciate that as well. So it's one of those things, like it's one thing to hear about it, and when it actually happens, like, oh, okay, now it
Yeah,
makes,
exactly.
yeah, like because you do hear it. There's that practice versus theory type of thing. So it's one thing when you're doing it; it's another thing when you just hear about it or watch YouTube videos or podcasts, that sort of thing. So, but you're out there doing it now, and just like you mentioned before we hopped on the call, like you're feeling that momentum. So like you got this first deal under contract, and it's not even been like a week or two, and like you're already getting other deals, and like you're just building momentum. So the first one's the hardest, and now you're having like a water flow. When it rains, it pours, so to speak.
I don't know what.
Yeah.
I don't know how y'all came up with this little witchcraft thing, but I worked for a year trying to do this, and tomorrow will be a week since I signed the contract. And I have seen it on your podcast things here. I've seen it on your case studies. Get your first one, and everything will open up. And I'm like, oh, that's coincidental. It's got to be coincidence. It doesn't happen like that every time, surely. And I'll be, damn, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. I was like, what is happening right now?
Mm-hmm.
It's true. I don't understand it. It's some kind of magic wand somebody's waving somewhere, but
I think it's me on the other phone, on the other side, sending you this stuff, like just
that's absolutely true.
trickery. No, but it's the momentum. That's what momentum feels like. You get your first one done, and suddenly everyone wants to work with you and sends you deals, and again, your whole world opens up, and it's like, okay, cool, and then it becomes easier. So I'm excited for you to potentially hit 6 figures on your first flip. I hope everything goes through and it's clean.
That's
and
that's so rare.
But I love it. With that in mind, like, would you recommend others work with me as well?
Absolutely. Like if they have even considered it, I made the mistake of procrastinating for a year after you and I first spoke before I finally pulled the trigger and called you one day and said, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
I waited a year, almost right at a year. It was like 10 and a half months. And 6 weeks later, I'm looking at the profit that will equal 3 times my yearly salary. And that's the potential if everything goes through. I should have done it a year ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. So if you're even thinking about it, if somebody's even thinking about it, I don't even know how you're doing it. Shoot him a call, shoot him a message, whatever. He's taking on 8 students this month, I think. I don't know how many slots you have left. But you can't wait. Jump on it.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Fantastic. Well, again, I appreciate you taking the time. This is super helpful, and you have a great story, and you're just making great progress. So couldn't be happier with that. As we wrap up here, any final thoughts, any final things you wanted to share with the people watching?
I think I just led my final thoughts into your last question. But no, I've watched all of the case studies, and everybody seems to have the same exact problem.
Mm-hmm.
I am no different. You were no different when you started.
Yeah.
And as skeptical as you may be, I can't speak for everyone, but I can tell you that the past 6 weeks, I've accomplished more than I have in the past 6 years. And it was all because I made one phone call and got this man on my side who, like I said, when I got the deal under contract, I wasn't even home yet. I have lenders already calling me because he's on the game. So, being stupid.
Perfect. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap it up. Again, appreciate you taking the time, Stephen. This has been fantastic. Just can't wait to see your progress for the next couple months, years. So this is the start of something much, much bigger. So very excited. Sounds good.
Appreciate you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for your time.